Have you ever paused in the middle of a chaotic day, looked around, and wondered if true inner peace is even possible? In the rush of modern life, amidst the noise of notifications, demands, and emotions, the ancient wisdom of Buddhism gently whispers a timeless message. Peace isn't something to chase in the world. It is something to find within. Through teachings passed down across millennia, Buddhism offers a guiding hand toward acceptance, detachment, and serenity. These aren't abstract ideals meant only for monks on mountaintops. They're practical truths we can carry into every moment of our lives. Let's journey together through a landscape of stories, reflections, and insights that unveil the transformative power of detachment, not as cold indifference, but as a radical freedom. This is the kind of freedom that lets us truly live, feel, and grow. It's about letting go of what weighs us down and embracing what life brings us. Without fear, without resistance, with open hands and an open heart. There was once a young monk named Taojin, who had been gifted a beautiful ceramic cup by his revered teacher. Taojin cherished this cup deeply. He carried it with him everywhere, always admiring its elegant design, careful not to let it slip. One day, while cleaning his quarters, the cup accidentally fell and shattered into countless pieces. His heart clenched with loss. But when he tearfully approached his teacher, the wise elder simply said, "That cup was already broken from the beginning." These words puzzled Taojin at first, but as he reflected, a deeper understanding dawned upon him. Nothing in this world is permanent. Detachment is not about being emotionless, it's about seeing clearly. How often do we hold on tightly to things, people, and situations, fearing their loss? We cling to relationships that no longer nourish us, to expectations that keep us imprisoned, to memories that pull us backward. We believe letting go is defeat. But in truth, letting go is liberation. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises from attachment, our desperate grip on impermanence in a world that is always changing. Real security doesn't come from holding on. It comes from accepting change. When we start to grasp this, we stop viewing loss as a disaster and start living with lightness. Imagine a river. It doesn't cling to the water flowing through it. It simply continues, adapting to the terrain, moving with grace. We, too, can learn to flow. Life often takes something away only to give us something better. But in the moment, clouded by fear and anxiety, we miss the beauty of the unfolding. Detachment isn't about giving up what we love, it's about loving without needing to possess. It's about enjoying fully, knowing things may change, and still being at peace when they do. This understanding leads us to acceptance. Once we let go, the next step is to embrace what life brings without resistance. One day, a disciple named Suman approached his teacher, overwhelmed by sorrow. "Master," he said, "I suffer because life isn't the way I want it to be." The master, smiling gently, responded, "You suffer because you resist what is." Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means seeing clearly, without illusions, without denial. But why is it so hard to accept? Because our minds are filled with stories about how things should be. We believe if we try hard enough, everything will align with our desires. But life doesn't work like that. Imagine you're standing on the shore, watching a massive wave approach. You can try to fight it, curse it, or run from it, or you can dive into it and let it carry you. The wave doesn't stop because you resist, it continues. Life is the same. The more we resist, the more we suffer. Acceptance means acknowledging what is without dramatizing or denying it. Once we accept reality, we can choose our next steps with clarity and wisdom. Think of the archer who releases his arrow with precision. He considers all he can: wind, tension, distance. But once the arrow is in flight, he lets go. Some things are beyond control. Acceptance is not weakness, it's power. It shifts the question from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What is this teaching me?" This simple change opens doors. Acceptance also means embracing ourselves, our flaws, our mistakes, our histories. Too often, we fight ourselves harder than we fight life. We punish ourselves with guilt, shame, and regret. But only in accepting ourselves can we truly evolve. When Taojin's cup broke, he saw his own inner fragility mirrored in those shards. Yet through his teacher's words, he found peace, and in that peace, transformation. Trust naturally follows acceptance. We begin to believe that life unfolds exactly as it should. Another tale from the mountains tells of a wise hermit named Shigen, who lived in a secluded village. One morning, a wild stallion wandered into his garden. The villagers were amazed. "What fortune?" they cried. Shigen replied, "Fortune or misfortune, who can say?" Days later, the stallion threw Shigen's son, breaking the boy's leg. "What bad luck," the villagers said. Shigen again answered, "Fortune or misfortune, who can say?" Soon after, a war broke out. All the young men were drafted, except Shigen's son. "How lucky you are," they exclaimed. And once more, Shigen said, "Who can say?" This parable teaches us that we often judge events too quickly. What appears to be a loss today may be a blessing tomorrow. Life connects in ways we can't always see. Trusting life means being patient, staying open, and believing that everything has its time. Another story tells of a man who found a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. Moved by compassion, he helped open it, but the butterfly's wings never strengthened, and it couldn't fly. The effort to break free was essential to its growth. In our own lives, how often do we try to force solutions, bypass processes, and demand answers? But true trust means tending to life like a patient farmer, planting seeds, nurturing them, and allowing time to work its magic. Buddhism encourages us to see life not as a battle to be won, but as a dance to be felt. Instead of fighting every change, we can observe, learn, and move gracefully. What is this moment trying to teach me? What beauty hides behind this uncertainty? One of the most powerful tools for building this awareness is meditation. In a monastery nestled between mountains, a young seeker named Nalen once told his master, "My mind is wild. The more I seek peace, the more restless I become." The master offered him a glass of water with dirt and said, "Shake it." Nalen did, and the water turned murky. Then the master said, "Now let it sit." Slowly, the dirt settled, and the water cleared. "This," said the master, "is your mind." Peace comes when we allow stillness. Meditation is not about emptying the mind or escaping reality. It's about observing without attachment. Our minds are overstimulated by technology, worries, noise. Meditation gives us space. Scientific research shows it lowers stress, improves focus, and even supports physical health. But beyond science, it teaches us about impermanence. Thoughts arise and pass. Emotions come and go. Everything flows. Even if your mind won't quiet down, that's okay. Meditation isn't about stopping thoughts. It's about watching them like clouds drifting across the sky. One simple practice is breath meditation. Close your eyes. Focus on your breathing. When your mind wanders, gently return. No judgment, just presence. You can also try gratitude meditation, taking time to reflect on what you're thankful for. Or letting go meditation, visualizing releasing what burdens you. These practices strengthen your inner peace, helping you flow with life's currents instead of resisting them. Letting go of control is the next step. Standing beside a river, Nalen's master once said, "Watch how the water flows. It doesn't resist the rocks or fear the bends. It simply moves." We, on the other hand, try to control everything, outcomes, people, even emotions. But like the river, life is always moving. When we try to grip it tightly, we suffer. There is a story passed down through generations, a parable of simplicity and deep meaning. A man once found himself hanging from the limb of a tree, perched precariously at the edge of a cliff. The wind howled around him, and beneath him stretched what seemed to be a bottomless chasm. In his terror, he clung desperately to the branch, his fingers gripping tighter with each passing moment, his mind spiraling with fear and uncertainty. He was convinced that if he let go, he would fall to his death. What he didn't know, however, was that just a few feet below, solid ground awaited him. If he had simply loosened his grip and allowed himself to fall, he would have landed safely. But fear blinded him. It kept him suspended and suffering. This image is a powerful metaphor for the human experience. So often, we too find ourselves clinging, not to branches, but to jobs that no longer fulfill us, relationships that drain us, identities that limit us. We hold on, not because these things serve our highest good, but because we are afraid. Afraid of change, of uncertainty, of the unknown. We grip tightly to the familiar even when it causes us pain. Because the idea of letting go feels like a greater risk, we suspend ourselves in suffering, hovering just above the freedom and peace that could be ours if only we had the courage to release our grasp. Letting go is not synonymous with giving up. On the contrary, It is an act of deep trust. It is choosing to release the illusion of control and surrender to the unfolding of life. It means doing our best with what we can influence, but not obsessing over the outcome. It means living with intention, but not with attachment. When we let go of the need to micromanage every aspect of our lives, we create space for spontaneity, for beauty, for grace. There is a quiet joy in doing things for their own sake. We paint not to sell the artwork, but because we love the texture of brush against canvas, the way colors dance and blend. We love not because there is a guarantee of being loved in return, but because love is our natural state. We act not to be applauded, but because the act itself is an expression of our deepest values. When we release expectations, we discover a more authentic way of living, one grounded in joy, not in outcome. And something else begins to emerge from this letting go: compassion. Not just for others, but for ourselves. Compassion is not born from perfection, it is born from understanding. From seeing our own fragility and recognizing it in others. It is easy to offer love when things are going well, when people behave as we wish them to. But true compassion extends even to those moments when we falter, when we are angry, when we are afraid, when we make mistakes. There is a story of a traveler named Senna. We don't know much about her, only that she once met a monk on a quiet path, far from any village or town. She was weeping, her body curled inward, racked with guilt. "I have failed," she said through her tears. "I've made mistakes I cannot forgive." The monk looked at her gently and asked, "If a bird breaks its wing mid-flight, should it be struck again, or healed?" The question cut through her anguish. Guilt had chained her, but compassion offered her a key. So often, we are our own harshest critics. We hold ourselves to impossible standards, and when we inevitably fall short, we punish ourselves with silence, with shame, with self-rejection. But healing does not come from punishment, it comes from kindness. Self-compassion is not weakness or self-indulgence. It is the soil in which transformation grows. To grow, a plant needs water and sunlight, not scorn. To change, a human needs love, not judgment. There is a practice in Buddhism called metta bhavana, or loving kindness meditation. It begins with a simple intention: to wish oneself well. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be at peace. At first, these words may feel foreign, even uncomfortable. We are often taught to place others above ourselves, to give until we are depleted. But we cannot pour from an empty cup. Only when we nourish our own hearts can we extend true love to others. As we continue the practice, we expand our circle of compassion. From ourselves, we move outward, to friends, to neutral people, to those with whom we struggle, and finally, to all beings. Compassion becomes not just a feeling, but a way of being, a lens through which we see the world, a response to suffering, whether it arises in ourselves or in others. But compassion does not mean passivity. It does not mean allowing harm to continue unchecked. True compassion is married to wisdom. If someone mistreats us, we can set boundaries, not out of anger, but out of love. We do not need to carry resentment like heavy stones in our backpacks. We can lay them down, one by one, and choose to walk light. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is remembering without the poison of bitterness. All of these teachings, the art of letting go, the practice of compassion, the cultivation of mindfulness, ultimately lead us to a deeper integration. They are not meant to remain as abstract ideals or lofty aspirations. They are meant to be lived, to be breathed into every moment of daily life. A disciple once asked his teacher, "How long until I reach enlightenment?" The master replied, "If you hurry, much longer. If you walk slowly, perhaps sooner than you think." The path is not a race. Transformation is not a destination to be reached, but a way of walking, a way of seeing. We can begin by asking simple questions each morning. What am I clinging to? Is it serving me? Can I appreciate something without needing to possess it? Am I acting from a place of love or fear? Can I pause for 5 minutes to breathe, to observe, to simply be? These small reflections create ripples. Over time, they become waves that shape our inner landscape. Of course, we will forget these truths. We will be caught up again in the noise, the busyness, the fear. That is okay. The path is not linear. Buddhism does not ask us to be perfect. It invites us to return. Again and again, we come back to the breath, to the body, to the present moment. We begin anew, each time with a little more awareness, a little more gentleness. In the Zen tradition, there is a saying: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The tasks do not change, but our relationship to them does. We learn to bring presence to every action. Washing the dishes becomes a meditation. Speaking to a friend becomes a sacred encounter. Walking becomes a prayer. There is strength in this simplicity. We no longer need grand achievements to feel worthy. We no longer chase constant validation. We are enough, just as we are. In this quiet acceptance, we find a wellspring of peace. Not the peace of avoidance, but the peace that comes from fully embracing life as it is, with all its beauty, its sorrow, its messiness, and its wonder. And as we walk this path, we begin to notice a shift. Our hearts become more open. Our judgments soften. We are quicker to listen, slower to react. We no longer need to win every argument, prove every point. We begin to understand that behind every harsh word is a wound. Behind every act of cruelty is fear. This understanding does not excuse harm, but it gives us perspective. It helps us respond, not with retaliation, but with wisdom. We see the interconnectedness of all things. The tree is not separate from the soil. The river is not separate from the rain. We are not separate from each other. What we do to one, we do to the whole. This truth humbles us. It calls us to live with care, to speak with intention, to move through the world with reverence. At times, we may still feel lost. We may still cling to the branch, fearing the fall, but somewhere deep within, a quiet voice reminds us, there is ground below. You are held, you are safe, let go, trust. And in that moment of surrender, we begin to fly, not in the way of escaping reality, but in the way of finally being grounded in what is real. In love, in presence, in the silent knowing that this, just this, is enough. Thank you for walking this path with me. May these reflections be a lantern in your hand, lighting your way through shadow and light. May you move gently through this world, with courage in your heart, with compassion in your step, and with the serene understanding that you are already home. Until we meet again, may your journey be blessed with clarity, with kindness, and with peace that flows like a river, steady, deep, and always moving toward the sea.